that was one of those songs that we actually had to fight for. When
Oh, really?
we wrote it, we recorded it, showed it, took it to the label, and showed it to him. Our A&R guy at the time was like, "Yeah, I mean, it's a good song. It's fine. Sounds like a B-side to me." He didn't want to put it on the album.
You're listening to OurSpace with Matt Vettese.
Listen, if you are a millennial, you have a specific memory with Hinder's Lips of an Angel. I already know you do. What is that specific memory? I want to hear the story. Leave it in the comments right now on YouTube or on Spotify. Mine is really weird. It's a little inside joke. It's probably not even going to be funny to you, so I won't take up too much time. But essentially, the gist of the story is hanging out with some friends one day when we were about 15 years old, and out of absolutely nowhere, one of our friends jumps up on a computer chair and starts singing Lips of an Angel and yells, "Hinder!" and then completely falls right off the chair, flat on his face. It was like the funniest thing that a 15-year-old could possibly go through at that time. And it was one of those things that we joked about for like years to come. You'll even hear in my interview with Cody, me kind of say, "Hinder!" That was the way he did it in the interview. So as we're kind of talking and setting up this week's episode of OurSpace with Matt Vettese, we're talking to Cody of Hinder. Now, Hinder is one of those bands where if you're a millennial, like I said, you have that memory. You don't need to be emo. You don't need to even be, you didn't even need to listen to rock music really back in the day. You could have been a fan of rap, but at the end of the day, you know who Hinder is. You know Lips of an Angel. One of the cool things that I think not a lot of people actually realize or think about is Hinder's actually been releasing new music all this time. And they're in the process right now of releasing more music. We've gotten a couple of singles. We're actually getting a new album, which is really exciting. So I had a chat with Cody about being in a band all this time, celebrating the 20-year anniversary of Lips of an Angel, what that song has had, what impact that song has had on them as a band, what new things are coming about the band with new songs. All of that in this half an hour interview. Hope you enjoy it. Let's get to Cody now from Hinder. How you doing today, Cody?
I'm doing great, man. How about yourself?
Fantastic. You just wrapped up a U.S. tour. How did that go?
It was good, man. Crowds were wild. People were showing up. That's always a good feeling. Yeah, it's great. And, we got to go out and take out our buddies in Saliva and Kingdom Collapse, and then Kelsey Hickman on a few shows. So it was a good lineup, man. We had a lot of fun.
You've been doing this obviously for a long time now. Lips of an Angel just, is celebrating its 20th anniversary. So touring on the heels of Lips of an Angel back 20 years ago versus wrapping up a US tour now, what would you say the biggest thing that has changed in the last 20 years for you as an artist touring?
The fact that we're out doing it on our own a lot more. Back then we were, trying to get support slots all the time. We were trying to get on the biggest tour, and now we're just kind of going out and doing things however we want to do them. We're doing headlining runs and grabbing bands that we feel are good for the package as a whole. So, yeah, man, we're out doing it on our own and having a great time.
Who are some of those bands?
Like I said, like bands like Saliva and Kingdom Collapse and guys like that. Just anybody that that we feel complements what we do. And we've even reached out and done tours with guys like Soil. I don't know if you remember Soil from back in the early 2000s, but bands like that, just whoever we feel like makes sense for the run. So it's fun.
And you're doing a few festivals this year, Louder Than Life, Aftershock, and a few others. Are there any bands on those festival lineups that you're really excited to share the stage with, or even just see on the back end?
Yeah, I mean there are a lot of bands that are coming out and reuniting for those big festivals, so that's always cool. And on the stage that we're playing, I can't remember if it's Louder Than Life or Aftershock or maybe even both. On our stage, a band called Rev Theory is going to be on with us, and that's a band that we got really tight with back in the early days of touring. So the fact that they're getting back and getting back out there and playing shows is I don't know, that's really exciting to me, and it's going to be fun to watch. It'll be nice to hang out with those guys.
I remember Rev Theory, and it's so cool to see how, all of these 2000s bands have gotten back together, are also releasing new music and touring and doing all of that. How do you feel, obviously as being a part of this resurgence of the 2000s? Like, to me, I think about growing up, I'm 33 years old, and I remember when I was a teenager, it felt like there was a revival of like the 80s or the 90s, and all of those bands were starting to get back together. And those were all the bands that I grew up listening to as a teenager. And, to see the 2000s almost be like the new 80s now, where it's come back around 20 years later and it's popular again. Like, what's the biggest thing that you notice is different playing shows with these bands 20 years later and playing to newer fans and even some younger kids as a band that's been doing it for 20 years now?
I just think that everybody's a lot more mature. Nobody's as fun as they used to be.
No one's throwing TVs out of hotel rooms or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, we're still out there being idiots trying to get drunk every night and whatever. Nobody wants to hang out with us anymore. It's kind of sad, but no, it is really cool, to see everybody coming back out and playing shows again. That's all the music that we loved, at that time. So it's fun for us as fans as well to get to watch it. And honestly, it's just really helping our cause. We've been out doing it. We never really took a break. So I feel like with everybody else coming out, it's just, I don't know, it's helping to revitalize, our career as well. So we're thrilled.
Now, you've been doing this for over 20 years now, and still continuing to be an active band, releasing new music. Just released Bring Me Back to Life, your latest single. Tell me about that song. Why was that song so important to you? Why was that song chosen to be a single? Tell me about that.
When we were over the pandemic, we wrote an entire album, and the whole goal in that was to write something that was reminiscent of the first album. And when we got it done, we just kind of felt like it wasn't who we are as a band now. It didn't feel authentic. So we decided to pull the plug on that, and we had really decided that we didn't want to write new music. We were just going to go out and tour on the past catalog, because we felt that's what people wanted to hear when they came to a Hinder show. And then we were sitting around in the studio one day, and Marshall and I were writing, and we decided just to try it, just to write a song. And we couldn't think of anything that we wanted to say. We couldn't think of anything we wanted to write about. And, Marshall was like, hey, why don't we just write a song about that? About being uninspired in life and not having anything to say. So, I mean, the opening line of the song is, I've got nothing left to say that I really want to put in a song. And so we finished the song, and it's one of those songs that you really feel is special. It's got all the elements of a really special song. And so that's the song that kind of jump started everything. And that was the jumping off point for the new album. That's where it started. And that song is the reason why we did it. So from that moment on, we kind of jumped in and did it. So it was a lot of work, but I think if we wouldn't have written that song, I don't know that it would have happened. So it's a special song for us.
So just to clarify, there's a whole Hinder album out there that no one will ever see the light of day, because you wrote a whole album throughout the pandemic and decided, you know what, we don't want to write something that sounds like the past. We want to either be in the past or move forward. And this was the song that just helped you decide. Yeah, we wrote that whole album. Now, are there any songs from that album that you threw away that are going to be on your upcoming album, or is that album entirely scrapped? You had however many songs on it, it'll never see the light of day, and now this is the new direction that Hinder's taking?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can never say never, right? You never know what's going to happen. We may be sitting around one day and listen through all those songs on the hard drive and go, "Whoa, that's better than we remember," or that sounds like kind of, maybe we could reimagine it here and do this. You know what I mean? I mean, that could definitely happen, but yeah, right now I'm thinking that's going to be one of those albums that just lives on the hard drive.
So you scrap this album, you write Bring Me Back to Life. That re-inspires everything to write a new album. So what's different from this album that you are going to be releasing versus the album that you put on the back burner?
I think that it's just, we didn't have to worry about being a band that we felt everybody else wanted us to be. Okay. We had the ability to go in and write the songs that we wanted to write and produce them the way that we wanted to produce them. We weren't trying to be this type of rock band, to sound like this, to get on this radio station or whatever. We just wrote the best songs that we could possibly write, and we produced them. We produced each song for that song, what we felt was best for that song, instead of trying to, write a song that, originally it was imagined and kind of felt like a pop song, and then try to, make it sound tougher and make it, kind of force that into a round hole over here. You know what I mean? We just produced the songs the way that we felt they should be. And that was that. So, I don't know. It was kind of exciting and liberating for us, I guess.
It sounds like you really just took that frame that you thought fans wanted to put you in because of your past material, threw that out the window and just said, let's just write the best songs that we possibly can, without that frame of, we have to be this divorced dad rock or butt rock type of band that you lean into so much. Would that be the case?
That's absolutely right. Yeah, we just kind of feel like it's important to be who we are, and that's always changing. Bands change and they grow and they evolve, and we want people to hear who we are now as musicians and as songwriters. So we felt like it was pretty important.
Is there an overall theme for this album, or is it just a collection of really good songs that you just really enjoyed?
Yeah, I mean, you'll hear quite a few like relationship references. While we were writing for this one, Marshall was going through a pretty long a breakup from a long relationship of like 14 years. So he was pretty mentally occupied with that. So a lot of the material was kind of geared toward that. But there were also songs that we had written for other projects. That we had sitting on the hard drive, and we would go back through and listen and go, wow, okay, this piece from this song is really cool. Maybe we could rewrite this or reimagine this. And so we had the ability and the opportunity to go back and revive some of those songs and pick what we felt were the best. So yeah, it's a pretty cool collection of songs from start to finish.
No Lips of an Angel Part 2 on there.
No, let's hope that there are a couple songs that have that success, but nothing that's going to sound like it.
Are there going to be any surprise collaborations or anything like that for people to expect at this point?
Not initially, but that is something that we are working on. We'd love to do some collaborations. We have some songs that were kind of imagined with that in mind whenever we were writing. We thought, oh man, this song kind of has that like, punk rock flair to it. Maybe we should go grab this guy. Or, there's the last song that we released called Everything is a Cult. There's a like kind of a rappy part in the second verse. And it's actually me doing it. on the album because, when I came up with the part, I was thinking, well, shit, we should go and find somebody that's got a really like real heavy voice, somebody that can do like the rappy thing, but also the screamy thing. And we never did it. We never went out and found that person. So when it came time to release the song, I'm on it. You know what I mean? So to me, that's not something that we typically do. And so it feels a little silly to me. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of moments like that on the album that are pretty cool and special.
How does that playing that song live affect you? Is that hard playing the drums, doing the rapping at the same time? Do you omit that? Like, what's that like?
It wouldn't be hard, except I keep forgetting to buy the microphone stand that like wraps over my head, because I'm a pretty animated player, right? Like there's a lot of swinging, so trying to get like a drum tech to swing it over like from the side, it's not gonna work. You know what I mean? Like I'm all up in it, and if they're trying to hold it, that's not working. So for now, we have one of the guitar players on stage to do that part for me. So
okay. Yeah. So you get omitted on the live performance, but you get the record version.
Yeah, exactly.
Who were you thinking? Who did you have in mind when you were thinking about a feature for that part?
I didn't really have anybody in mind, like in particular, but I was thinking, yeah. Well, this was part of the problem, right? We couldn't think of the guy. You know what I mean? We actually had somebody, because we had recorded 2 different versions of this song. We went out to LA and worked with a producer out there for a half a second when we thought we were going to sign a different label deal, and it just didn't come out how we wanted it to. It didn't feel right in the end. So we came back and kind of threw that one away and re-recorded it. And we had a guest vocalist on it, and it, like I said, it just didn't. I don't know. It didn't take the song where we wanted it to go, where we felt it should be. So we decided to switch gears.
Yeah, sometimes you have those creative ideas in your head, and you have this picture in your head, and then you actually do it, and you're like, that didn't turn out the same way it did in my head. Maybe I was wrong. Let's try something else and repivot until you get it right. Like, sometimes I'll have a creative idea, and I'll bring exactly what I was picturing in my head to life. Be like, I'm not crazy about that. Then my wife will say something, and I'll put that, and I'll be like, oh my God, that is brilliant. Like, that idea is so much better.
Yeah. I mean, we even went out and played that song. We went out and played it live, and it had like a bridge section that was a guitar solo originally. And once we redid it ourselves, we took that part completely out and made it like a real heavy riffy breakdown section. So it's pretty interesting to hear the difference between the 2 versions.
Now, you do a lot of the writing and the producing and all of that. How many hands or how many cooks are actually in the kitchen when it comes to songwriting?
It just kind of depends. It's usually just Marshall and I. We do a lot of writing and producing together outside of the band as well. So it's usually the 2 of us, unless we are doing a co-write with another writer. And there are a handful of songs on the album that we had some co-writes on, but yeah, for the most part, it's just 2 of us. So.
And how does that work between the 2 of you and getting those creative juices going, just the 2 of you without any extra hands in the pot? Do you find that that's more efficient? Do you find that that's better? You're coming out with better songs?
Yeah, I think so. It seems like, the favorites are typically the songs that just the 2 of us write. And I think it's because we've been doing it together for so long. We know each other really well. We can be honest and be like, dude, that part you just came up with sucks, or whatever. So, we can be honest and change something if we want to a month down the road, and it's fine. There's never any egos involved. Nobody gets mad. We just both want to write and record the best song that we can, and that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. Then put it out as a collection in an album. The official timeline for the album release, what's that looking like as of right now? Do we have a date?
We do. Our dates keep changing on us, so we'll see what happens. But right now, it is May 23rd, the day before my birthday. So that'll be a really cool birthday present for me.
That's very exciting. I'm wishing you all the best on that. And I really hope that you get nothing this birthday. I really hope you get nothing but positive reviews for the Hinder album, of course.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I guess it could backfire if everybody thinks it sucks.
Didn't even mean to plant that seed or anything. I'm sure it's going to be an amazing album. The singles have been great so far. And with this new album on the way and some big festivals lined up, what excites you the most about this new era of Hinder?
Honestly, just getting it out and for people to hear the new songs. Like I said, for me, I really believe that this is one of the strongest albums that we've ever done from a songwriting standpoint, from front to back. I think the songs are really cool. I think it sounds really cool. It feels really modern. So I'm just excited for people to hear it and to see what people think about it. You know, that's pretty exciting for me.
And hopefully, like you said, there's a hit on there as big as Lips of an Angel. I want to talk about Lips of an Angel, 20 years old this year, which is crazy to think, because I swear it was just like a year or two ago that, you know, me and my buddies were hanging out in the garage, drinking a few beers and like singing that song and falling off of tables, you know, like that's my memory of, you know, my dumbass friends yelling and falling off the table. So 20 years is crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, doing anything for 20 years is absolutely crazy to me. Just to say, you know, just holding a normal job for 20 years is crazy. You know, that's a big deal. It's a big accomplishment. And the fact that you're in a band, a rock band that with so many different personalities. And we've been able to hold this thing together for this long and continue to do it at this level is absolutely insane. I mean,
it's such a huge accomplishment in and of itself. Like you said, most people can't hold a job for 20 years. You know, so to be doing that job and playing this song and playing your music and as a recording artist at a level of success for 20 years, like that's a huge feat for sure. When you first recorded the song, did you have any idea, like even the smallest amount, just, you know, that ego in you where you finished recording it, you turned it off and you went, this is going to be a freaking hit?
I mean, yeah, because we were dumb kids that didn't know any better. You know, like we didn't know what the odds were. You know what I mean? We just thought this is happening. You know, when you're young, you always think everything you do is the greatest, right? But we, you know, that was one of those songs that we actually had to fight for. You know, when we we wrote it, we recorded it, showed it, took it to the label, and showed it to them. Our A&R guy at the time was like, "Yeah, I mean, it's a good song. It's fine. Sounds like a B-side to me." He didn't want to put it on the album, and so, and he was a really awesome A&R guy. So I feel like I should say that, but.
He knew nothing.
Yeah, he was actually really awesome. I miss having him around now for that. But you know, that, like I said, that song, we had to fight for it, and thank God we did. You know, could you imagine like how different things would be for us if that song hadn't have been on the album? You know, like we'd probably be done by now. So that song changed our entire life. So yeah, big deal.
Yeah. An absolute game changer. Why do you think it stood the test of time?
I think it's probably because most people have been in every scenario, right? In that song, you know, especially, you know, for girls. I mean, and, you know, men too. I mean, who hasn't been in that scenario where you've been cheated on and, you know, had your heart ripped out, right? So, but especially females, I mean, most of them have been in both scenarios, you know, so I just think it's one of those songs that people can really relate to. Those are always the ones that stick around and stand the test of time.
And not a lot of bands actually stick around for as long as Hinder did, especially throughout the 2000s. Like we talked about earlier, there was a bit of a resurgence, and we're kind of going through that resurgence right now. But why do you think Hinder stood the test of time and kept on going throughout all this time?
Because we're stubborn and stupid, I guess. At a time when most bands decided to take a break or hang it up and go get real jobs that, were a little more stable. We were too stupid to do that. So here we are. We're still at it.
You're like, fuck it. I don't want to get a real job. I just want to play some music.
Exactly. I want to go out and get drunk with my boys every night. Let's keep this thing going.
When you play it live now, do you approach it differently? Does it feel any different? How does that work versus back then?
Yeah, I think back then when we were playing it live, I felt like we were really into the song, right? I think now, at least for myself, when we're playing it live, it's a lot more fun for me to just kind of focus on the crowd and watch their reactions, because I think I hear it a lot. People that come to see us for the first time, they've been waiting to hear that song live in person for so many years. The excitement in the room is just, you almost can't describe it. It's really, really fun to watch people's faces and watch them light up, or watch the big burly biker guy in his vest start crying, or whatever. Or, on this last round, we had a mosh pit during Lips of an Angel, of all songs.
That's wild.
It's crazy. You never know what you're going to see and what the reaction's going to be, but it's all almost, overwhelmingly positive every time. And there are a lot of emotions in the room every night, and that's fun to see.
A lot of bands, they get sick of playing their biggest hit. You play it over and over again, whatever, but it sounds like, it just gets better with time with you guys.
Yeah, man, because we're not playing it for us. We're not up there, we don't pick the songs that we want to play live. We try to pick the set list and structure it for what we think everybody else wants to hear. And I think that's, I think you have to do it like that. Don't be selfish. Go out and give the people what they pay for, right? Or at least try to do your best.
I'm a big fan of that. Give the people what they want. To hold back one of your biggest songs, if not your biggest song, isn't doing anybody a favor.
Yeah, that's just an ego move, and we try to leave those out of the bus. No egos.
I love that. Now, Divorced Dad Rock. I want to talk about that because it wouldn't be a chat with Hinder without talking about Divorced Dad Rock, especially as you've leaned so far into it. Okay, what defines Divorced Dad Rock?
You got me. I didn't come up with the term, man. We're just
like,
here.
I just like it. I'm going to lean into it.
Yeah, we're just here making the shirts and selling them. So
you're like, someone put me in this box, I'm going to profit off of it.
Yeah, might as well, right? And like I said, no egos. So we're just having fun with it. That's the thing about us, and I think that's one of the reasons that we've been able to stick around and stay together as long as we have. Is we like to make fun of each other. Just constantly talking shit. So I think it's important to be able to make fun of yourself a little bit.
I absolutely love that so much. Hey, one thing that we do here on the show is to continue to support artists, musicians, and continue to grow the rock scene. So one way that I like to wrap up every single interview is to ask the artists and the people that I'm talking to give love to another band, especially a band that you may feel is underrated or working really hard right now. So do you have any other artists or bands that you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I've been doing this a lot lately, actually. One of my favorite bands out there right now, I don't know that they need the help because I think they're out there killing it, but a band called Lakeview. I'm really, really into that band. Have you heard of them?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, so it's kind of like metal country, I guess. It's like...
Okay.
Metal's probably not the right word. I mean, but it's like heavy rock, but they're country songs. You know what I mean? So it's got it checks all the boxes for me. You know, it's got like all the big drums, the heavy guitar riffs, but just really great songwriting. You know, great hooks, really great lyrics that are simple that you can relate to, but also they're clever in some way. You know what I mean? They've just got they've got some skills in the songwriting department. And live, I guess they've been playing Lips of an Angel, so that's pretty cool. And they're
that's amazing.
Yeah, and I think they either are about to release or just released the recorded version of Lips. So great timing for the 20-year anniversary.
Got to take them on tour with you and then bring them up on stage with you at the end to play that song.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. I know they've been out, doing some big tours with like Breaking Benjamin and some other big rock bands. So, I mean, they're making the rounds, doing the thing. So it's pretty cool to watch.
Love that, Cody. Well, Cody, thank you so much for taking the time. Where can people stay in touch with Hinder and keep an eye on upcoming tour dates, the new album, all of that?
Hindermusic.com is the website. It's easy to find all the dates on there. And I know nobody does websites anymore, but it's still there. So, especially the merch store, if you want to buy a Divorced Dad Rock t-shirt, you can find it at hindermusic.com. But also, Instagram is also Hinder Music, and I believe Facebook is the same. So we're pretty easy to find.
Cody, thank you so much for coming on the show. And to you watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or Apple Music, go and check out the new singles from Hinder. Keep an eye out for their new record. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the show, follow it, leave us a 5-star review, all of that good stuff. Thank you again, Cody.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to OurSpace with Matt Vettese. If you enjoyed yourself, please support the show by subscribing and leaving a review.